Okay.
Paul spilled coffee.
Well, see, it has this little. I can't see it. Let me move it over here.
No, sure, I'm done.
It has this little handle thing, which I was holding it by, and you can see how it kind of. I almost did it.
Is that
again.
a teacup?
No, it's an espresso. Jeez.
Yeah, my daughter has teacups larger than that.
Okay.
Oh, good. It finally connected. My Surface Book 2 is telling me there was no internet, despite the fact that Paul and I are chatting over the internets.
Mm-hmm. As we do. I'll hold this normally.
So, Paul, we rip on our readers a lot because mostly, well,
we rip on our readers a lot.
I'm just kidding. But I didn't get his permission to use his name. But yesterday, I remember talking about putting up the wall, and I was just talking about how I was going to do it. And this individual is a structural engineer. Took some of the images I had and annotated them the correct way to do this.
You could say this first name, Shirley. I mean,
let me pull up the Twitters.
That's amazing. So someone on Twitter did this.
Yeah, but he listens to the podcast. He found me.
Yeah. No. I go over the comments all the time, so I didn't see this comment.
Yeah. So his name was Brian. I won't say his last name. But very much appreciate that, Brian. He's going to save me a little bit of headache, I think. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's it's interesting. It's a different way than I approach our relationship. Usually, I try to cause a little problem instead of solve a little, but. Okay, I guess that's another way of doing it.
Yeah, being helpful.
I mean, there are different approaches in life.
There are. Some people do whatever. Apple likes to pat itself on the back and held its little private event in New York City where it talked about some great apps.
Honestly, I got to tell you, this is the most Apple thing of all Apple. It is. You just apply the kind of circle jerk mentality of a Hollywood awards ceremony where it literally is the industry celebrating itself.
Yep.
And you think to myself, I think to myself, how could this be even douchier? Oh, right. If Apple did it.
Yeah. The only way this could have been worse is if they went up there and said, well, the best smartphone of 2019. Well, guys, it's the iPhone 11
it's
Pro.
The best laptop keyboard of 2019 coming in at the last minute.
Yeah. Getting a scant 33 days out of it, but yeah, technically.
Apple's it's a real soul check moment for me, but yeah, sure.
So if you're curious about what Apple thinks the best Apple apps are, it would have been great if they would have gone up there and been like, best camera app, ours. Best mail app, ours.
Well, by the way, I mean, these things are usually announced via a blog post. I don't,
Yeah.
I don't, whatever. People are going to wait in the audience and be like, oh my God, I hope we win.
Yeah, I mean, some poor chap flew to New York for this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then he gets there and he's like, you're going to do what?
Yeah, exactly. I lost to some stupid farming simulation app. What the hell's going on here?
Yeah, so Skype decided to stop working, and so we're just going to say T-Mobile 5Gs. And
oh, God, we could use T-Mobile 5G here, I guess.
Apparently you could, not so much.
Well, yes. I got to say, one of the problems with where I live is the internet. It's not a daily issue, but I literally can't get anything faster than it's cable, RCN cable. So it's 330 over 30, which is RCN's way of saying 100 over 10.
Wow. That sucks for you. I've got a gig down and I think two or 400 up for $60.
Dude, I was coming from Fios, and perfectly clean fiber.
Yep.
I would be getting the same thing back home and probably would be spending about half as much as I spent here for this piece. This lackluster connection, I guess.
The problem is that I clicked off the screen to call you back and now I can't change the camera.
It's okay.
Well, we'll survive. We will survive.
Sure.
We will survive. I don't know what else is going on. You did a little smartphone right up there, cameras, I see.
Yeah, I have a long list. I have several articles I'm planning for this kind of 2019 year in review kind of thing. I'm taking a different approach, right? It's not just a rundown of here's what happened, bang, 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 link to all the old articles. It's more okay, look, let's sit back and kind of think about this because I see some interesting trends. So, I mean, off the top of my head, it's I've got Windows in there, web browsing. I did the smartphone ones. Smart home, cord cutting. I surprised. I don't remember exactly, but they're all in various. I'm not sure how I don't want to blast them all out at the same time, like right on top of each other. But I also don't want to do only one a week, so probably every couple of days or so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is the end of the year. It's a great time to talk about the best apps, and
you get up in the right. Yeah, so celebrate ourselves. Here's the things I did that I think are awesome this year. No, but but the article you're referencing, I mean, I have my own preferences. I mean, there are certain things I really like with the Huawei phones for sure, and then there are certain things I really don't like, of course. I mean, and I'm using a Pixel for various reasons, but I think the most amazing thing that happened this year in smartphones, and I can't believe I'm even saying this, if you had suggested this 2 or 4 months ago, I would have said there's no way that that'll ever be the case. But I mean, Apple really surged to the top of the list there.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're literally number one. I in the old days being like 3 months ago, you could say, look, this is the single best smartphone camera. You could kind of say that. Now you really can't. I mean, the iPhone does certain things better than other smartphone camera systems. The Pixel does, the Huawei's do. And then there's a bunch of stuff I didn't write about. I mean, they're very competent cameras from companies like Samsung and OnePlus and so forth. But their leap into that top tier is unprecedented, was unexpected. And it also relies on a huge amount of computer science, right? It's computational photography is AI and machine learning, and it's the type of thing that companies like Microsoft and Google are really good at.
Yep.
Huawei probably as well. And you wouldn't expect that from Apple, but I think what they did with their camera system this year was really impressive.
I mean, it shouldn't be all that surprising because the Pixel came out and kind of shocked everyone, right? It's one camera. It's really, really good. And then we're on the 4th iteration of Pixel now, and Apple's effectively caught up. I mean, that's kind of the market for you, right?
1 year. So the Pixel story is interesting. If you want to approach it from the opposite perspective, you could say, look, these guys have blown away everyone with what they were able to do with one lens.
Yep.
And so the big deal for them this year was going to be, and this should have been the story. Now they have 2 lenses. Oh my God. It's like they've raised the bar yet again, but they didn't, and I think for Google, they thought this was going to be another little victory lap. It's like, oh, look, we doubled the number of lenses. And it's like, that's cute, but other companies have 3 or even more lenses, but it's not just the lenses, it's the computational photography capabilities. And that's where Apple really surged. And I know from Google's perspective, they're like, next year we'll add 3, or maybe we'll even wait 2 years. And it's like, guys, you're actually behind in some areas now. And that hasn't been the case since before the Pixel 5X and 6P, I'm sorry, the Nexus 5X and 6P shipped in, what year was that? 2015? Whenever, it was a long time ago. So it's a brave new world here. It's interesting. There's some Apple stuff going on that is, so Apple that again, they're just so paternalistic, but they don't let you turn on or turn off night mode. You just get it when they think you need it. I don't like that. You
can't turn that. I thought you could turn that off and on.
Unless they changed it. And then the other thing they do is you can't just say, I want HDR on, like they said, it's smart HDR, and Apple will decide when you need HDR and what level of HDR you need. I like I think for me, the net effect of that camera is that typical day-to-day shots can be a little washed out compared to what I get with a Pixel, and certainly compared to the Huawei, which, if anything, over-processes pictures and makes them a little surrealistic. But anyway, whatever. But still, like, they're literally right there, and in some cases are winning. Like the video capabilities of the iPhone are unmatched anywhere in the industry. I mean, it's incredible. So interesting. Interesting.
I've had another fun little issue with my smart home.
Okay.
And I don't know if this is like an iOS 13 thing or not. So like 25% of my automations that I set up in the Home app work.
25?
Well, yeah. Like some of them just work on a Tuesday, and some of them just don't work at all. Like I thought you
were going to say 95, and then it was like the other 5% that kind of.
There's a bunch of them that are real inconsistent. For example, I have like many people in the world, so there's lights on our garage door opener, but there's also another light in the ceiling. So I put a Hue light in there, And what it's supposed to do is that when the garage door goes down, the light's supposed to turn on for like 30 minutes. Because I'm assuming that I've pulled into the garage, I shut the garage door, and I want it on. So, or sorry, no, when it goes, I don't know, whatever the automation.
Whatever. I get, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I think I have it set when it goes up and down. It turns on for 30 minutes. That's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
It never does. That's
like
funny.
It'll show it'll randomly go on. Then there's other ones like, so we have bookshelves next to our TV. And then there's like a LED strips on the top of them. It's a nice ambiance glow, Paul. Ambiance.
Yeah.
Those are supposed to come on every night at 6:30 p.m.
Sometimes
they do. Sometimes they don't.
I see things like this occasionally, and mine are all hue light related, where I just set the scheme of all the front. Like we have, I guess, 7 lights out front outside that are kind of green, red right now because, Christmas. And one of the lights, sometimes it just wants to be white. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at the hub for my Hue over here, and I'm going to reset it, I think, after the show. I reset the Apple TV that acts as my home hub upstairs earlier today. I'm going to reset that thing and see if it just kind of flushes it out.
The thing that's funny about your garage story is as long ago as 30, 40, maybe more years ago, I mean, you could get an automatic garage opener that has a light built into it, and the light stays on for some amount of time.
Yep.
Like we actually have that in our garage.
Yeah, no, we do too. It's just this is additional light because
sure,
why not?
So I don't know if you read my premium newsletter this week, Brad, but I do have this theory that people who are technical like you tend to overthink things, and
a little bit.
It's kind of like a compulsive, whatever. And I think I would put this into that category.
Well, so then I was getting frustrated, and I'm like, what I could do is I could put a little motion sensor in the garage, link it up to that, and then add another point of failure to the whole duct tape together system of calamity.
You've heard the phrase, it's not normal to jump out of a perfectly working airplane, I think people like us are more like, but we could jump.
Yeah.
Right?
We could.
But we could.
Yeah. If only there was some I don't know, maybe 100-year-old technology that operated by touching it very regularly, and you just did it as you went in and out the door, because all the switches are conveniently placed. But no, that's too easy. So
yeah.
It's my struggles are, I don't know, my struggles, I guess. I was gonna say our struggles, but you never deal with this.
No, that's not fair.
You complained about your Hue lights for about 6 months.
Oh my God. Yeah, of course. I mean, I sat here and used a computer that wouldn't come on every time I walked in the room for 6 months or whatever the period of time was. I mean, it's unbelievable how often things don't work properly and how often you kind of put up with things, right? Actually, here's an incredible example that's not really tech related, but this just came up. So my wife and I watched those House Hunter shows for years and years.
Yeah.
It got really aggravating because it's always like, this 23-year-old couple, Bob, sells stickers online, and Mary has a dog walking business, and they're going to buy a $650,000, McMansion outside of wherever. And it's like, Jesus, like seriously. And it's all these people, they're always complaining about how it's not move-in ready, and it's completely move-in ready. It's not their style, as if anyone has a style. It's just like, it just wears on it. It wears on me. I got really down on the show for a long time. So, but my wife and I watched TV for 30 minutes every lunchtime, or 23 minutes, whatever the time frame of a real TV show is. And, we watched the show. We went through some sitcoms, whatever. So we're running out of stuff. And so we started watching random episodes of House Hunters because it's on like Hulu. And, same thing. This is people like, I can't, this bathroom is, I want something that's like turnkey. And it's like, the bathroom is fine. Like you could totally live there.
Yeah.
Like it's such princesses, So the story is, when we moved into our previous home in Dedham, we had one of those old-fashioned light blue tiled bathrooms from like the 70s or something.
Yeah.
It'd been there,
We had a pink one in this house.
Yeah, where the shower came out of the wall, there was a tile, but it had cracked or broken at some point. So now it was an open hole.
Yeah.
So the shower, it would kind of jangle there. And that thing sat there like that for 8 years, Brad. 8 years. Yeah. And then when we finally, it was a friend of mine down the street who he was doing some tile work, and I was like, oh, I'm like, you know how to do tile work? And he's like, yeah. And I said, hey, can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
And so he fixed it. And then we were like, why on earth did we put up with this?
Yeah.
For so long, like every day you'd sit there and hate yourself a little bit, you know, just looking at it like, what, why? I'm like taking a shower out of a hole in the wall.
Yeah. You know? I refer to HGTV as DIY terrorism. Because it goes in, like, I would just love for one of those House Hunter episodes to be like real, like the family walks in and one of the people says, oh, we can just paint and remove that, and the other person goes, do you know how much work that is? I am not doing that.
Like, oh my god, every show it's like, yeah, we'll just blow out the wall and we'll have like an open concept thing, and it's like,
who cares if it's load bearing?
Blow out the wall. What do you, that's your first reaction? Like, here's an idea.
Who's going to marry the wood together on the floor?
Like, who's going to do this for a little while and see how it goes?
Yeah, I know. Anyways, that's I can't stand that channel because it gives false hopes and dreams.
Well, yeah, people spend thousands of dollars. They destroy part of a wall, and then they're like, "Oh crap, I can't do this."
Yeah,
you know, like that must happen all the time.
Oh, it has. I keep waiting for that point in my basement where I get to the point where I'm like, I don't think I can finish this.
Actually, you know, the most irresponsible thing that channel has ever done, and they still do this, I think, is there's all these like shows about flipping houses. And they make it, and it's always like, oh yeah, Bob and Mary made $165,000 down in Galveston, Texas, on this little ranch thing that they flipped. And it's like, you are teaching people to be horrible.
Yeah.
Like, what is, you know, not to mention the fact that most people who do that probably don't make money anyway. And it really underestimates the amount of work and effort and expense that really goes into that.
Well, yeah, because it also helps too when you're probably making $15,000 to $20,000 an episode. Like, who cares if you make money on the house, right? You made money on the episode. Like, it's...
Yes, I know. No, but it's, to me, that's irresponsible. Yeah. Because there are people watching that. You know, there are these young couples who are like, we should quit our jobs.
Oh, yeah. You know, all we got to do is put in laminate countertops and paint and maybe change the fixtures, and then it'll add $80,000. Yeah, make sure we paint the wall that gray color that every house is now. That kind of, what my wife calls like 2016 gray. And that's, yeah, we're having that conversation about what when I say we are, and what I really mean is when I am going to paint the walls down here. Although I'll tell you what though, I am not doing the roller crap. I'm going to probably rent a spray painter. Like, you know,
nice. Yeah.
Because I mean, I know you can do them without an air compressor, but I've got an air compressor. Like, I'm not.
You're an amazing
dude. We're going to do this podcast episode, and I'm just going to be covered in like speckles.
I'm just going to hook you up with my brother-in-law, and you guys can both do it's like the cheap guy's guide to DIY. It's like, why would I want to pay an electrician to do something when you know,
it only hurts a little. Like that.
Yeah. You probably won't die.
Yeah. It's
oh God.
Well, there we go, guys. It's HGTV continues. Best of apps. That's what we should do next, is like best of home reno projects for the year. We just pat ourselves on the back like Apple, be like, yeah, remember that app was really good. Oh yeah, I painted that wall so well.
I'll just remind you that my wife and I spent, I believe it was 3 hours hanging 3 light bulbs.
Dude, well, last night I spent 2 hours running a piece of wood this long. Well, 2 pieces. I built a ladder, so it's like 2 parallel pieces of wood with stringers in between.
Right.
But because I put that up, and then I realized, like, oh, hey, that piece over there isn't quite level. So then I fixed that one, and then I realized like 2 or 3 of them weren't level. And then so I had to pull them down and rip them on the table saw, and then I got them all nice and level now. But it was like, this was supposed to be like a 20-minute project for the evening, because I'm trying to do just a little bit each night, and then, yeah.
As it turns out, I did a project like this in my last house because we had a sewer problem where the pipe exploded in the semi-finished part of the basement at the time, and we had to rip everything out, do the floor, whatever, and then we had this huge hole in the ceiling. And so it's what you're describing. I didn't do it right because it's on me, but basically a pipe is hanging down below the height of the ceiling, so you have to build like a box around it to, you know, whatever.
That's exactly.
So someday I'll find a picture of this thing, but this looks like an MC Escher painting. It's like all angles, like there's no right angles on this. Like it kind of goes down over here, and then like on the side it goes up a little bit. Like it was like a child had done it, you know.
There's only, I mean, I'm not out of the woods yet, but the biggest concern I had with the framing is when you walk down the steps into my basement. You are walking, and when you're walking, like when you're walking down the steps, you see right down the I-beam of the house.
Yep.
And there's a wall I had to frame up to box that in. That's the wall I'm most worried about, because if that wall is screwed up, every time I walk down that basement, you're going to see,
like visually, like you'll see
right
the mistake.
Down,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that one is actually pretty dang good. Now I could totally screw up the drywall, which is a high probability, or the mudding.
It's like when you drive around and like they just put like a fresh set of paint on the lines in the middle of the road, and you could you're looking down the street and you can see a little.
Yep.
With that's like a squirrel ran by or something.
That's exactly what it's going to be. So I really gotta. That's the one that I've got to pay attention to. So.
Wow.
All right, folks, that wraps it up for today on another edition of Brad Vila, and we'll catch all of you right back here next time.